All right, so believe it or not, guys, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is still in the news. It was like July when this, this started ages ago, but the verdict came in like July or August, right?
This is one of those things where it's all we ever talk about for a few months, and then it completely dropped off of the face of the planet. And she was looking for an appeal for a bunch of different reasons. One was that one juror had incorrect information. The other was that she felt some of her evidence was excluded. But she just agreed to a settlement where not Amber Heard herself, but her insurance company will be paying out $1 million to Johnny Depp, rather than the originally agreed upon $8 million.
I'm going to read her statement here. So this is what she posted on her Instagram page. She says, or was this Twitter? Was it Twitter? Or
she posted it to Instagram, where only people she follows can comment.
So it says, after a great deal of deliberation, I have made a very difficult decision to settle the defamation case brought against me by my ex-husband in Virginia. It's important for me to say that I never chose this. I defended my truth. Oh, God.
My truth, a.k.a. my lies.
That is red flag number one, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to continue. So it says, I defended my truth, and in doing so, my life as I knew it was destroyed. The vilification I have faced on social media is an amplified version of the ways in which women are re-victimized when they come forward. Now I finally have an opportunity to emancipate myself from something I attempted to leave over 6 years ago, and on terms I can agree to. I have made no admission. This is not an act of concession. There are no restrictions or gags with respect to my voice moving forward.
So that particular part of the statement that said that she has no gag order, she is allowed to talk about this case and, voice her opinions about it. Yeah. There's no reason that she could be brought back to trial for defamation for talking about her relationship with Johnny Depp again.
Is that true?
So someone tweeted, I don't know if this exposes her because the settlement doesn't require a gag order, and that just means she can make a profit out of writing a book or doing a podcast or a documentary about it to spread more lies.
I do want to address there's a good comment here in the chat from Coyote Watcher. Says she is right that she was made into a cartoon villain. Nobody is called good or all bad. I think they mean all good or all bad. I don't disagree that in this case it became a cartoonish symbol of like toxic femininity in a lot of ways, but I don't agree that she wasn't guilty. All you have to listen to the clip is of her like vilifying and making fun of Johnny Depp for like not wanting to be punched and hit by a woman.
I didn't punch you. I hit you.
Like that. Like, I'm sorry, but that turns you into a bit of a cartoonish villain in a way. But I do believe that it got overblown, and what we forgot is that most of this was just a relationship of two people that were awful for one another, bringing out the worst aspects of their personalities. The other thing I think is really funny is this. Didn't Johnny Depp get ordered to pay $2 million to her? So does she come out of this $1 million ahead?
That I wanted answers
Holy
about.
crap!
I don't know. Most people aren't talking about it, so I assume that in the settlement, we don't have the documents, but like in the settlement, it says that he doesn't have to pay out his part if she gets to reduce hers.
Okay, all right.
Likely, that's what I'm thinking.
That makes more.
But it would be absolutely hilarious.
Women always come out ahead, no matter what.
If she still won, but I think more than she's paying in just cold hard cash, she's paid in her reputation and her career going forward more than anything. Yep. But a lot of people are saying this seems unjust, and if Amber were a man, then she would be expected to pay every penny.
Or at the very least, if he got a reduced settlement, I feel like there would be more press talking about how he was getting off easy, and I'm not seeing a lot, or how, if this was reversed and he was the one who got a reduced settlement, I feel like places like the AV Club, which we're going to talk a little bit about this round table that they had, because I think there's some interesting points that also highlight their own bias as being part of the California Hollywood media machine. I feel like they would be holding him more to account if this was his problem, that he had gotten a reduced settlement.
We also have a statement from Johnny Depp's lawyers, Camille Vasquez and Benjamin Chu. They said, "We're pleased to formally close the door on this painful chapter for Mr. Depp, who made clear throughout this process his intent to bring the truth to light. This was never about the money. The jury's unanimous decision and the judgment in his favor against Miss Heard remain fully in place, and the payment of $1 million, which Mr. Depp is pledging and will donate to charities kind of throwing shade at Amber Heard right now
Careful
because she
with that
pledged
word,
$7 million and never donated even half of it.
Nope.
Reinforces Miss Heard's acknowledgement of the conclusion of the legal system's rigorous pursuit for justice.
I mean, I don't think the money, it was never about the money for Johnny Depp anyways. He's got plenty of money. This was about clearing his name, or at least getting him to the point where he's employable by Hollywood again, which is true because Jerry Bruckheimer recently said he would love to work with Johnny Depp again on the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. You know, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have any interest whatsoever in another Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Does that interest anybody here?
In the interest of social media drama,
yeah,
maybe.
Well, we like it for work, but is there
normal
genuine
people? Do they care?
Well, I think more than anything, what it does is it allows him to be able to hold his head high while he does where he plays Captain Jack Sparrow for kids at kids' hospitals.
The thing I dislike is him being so blatantly screwed over by Disney without a thought, and then being brought back is sort of more of a humiliation and a concession.
Yeah.
I think that he has too much dignity at this point to go back to them with a new deal.
Disney will just say, look, it's just business.
Well, he could probably sue for damages if he lost this and was found some kind of, or if he was exonerated, and she somehow, if he didn't fight this, then, the damages would be the potential earnings that he would have had doing more Pirates of the Caribbean, hypothetically, even if he didn't do it.
And he had to fight it in the,
right.
in honor of his name, right? So,
exactly.
So there was a round table that got posted to AV Club between three people on staff. So it's Hattie Lindert, William Hughes, and Gabrielle Sanchez. And I just thought there were some really interesting takes because they're very clearly on one side of the aisle on this one. And I thought it would be interesting to see a little bit of what they were talking about. I specifically want to talk about this part from William Hughes. He says, in a weird way, they're talking about the entirety of the case. They were looking back on Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard as a retrospective. Why are we still talking about it at the end of 2022 as the year is coming to an end? So it says, in a weird way, it's sort of a grassroots movement. This always would have been a story. We've been covering the abuse allegations against Depp for years. Again, by the way, that was very cleverly placed in there to inspire doubt. It says, but it became one of the defining stories of the year because of the way people continually amplified each other on social media, egging each other on and watching those follower counts tick up. There was an incentive to make the story bigger and bigger that eventually caused it to dominate all of the conversations for months. All powered, as you note, Gabrielle, by the wellspring of misogyny buried deep within our culture. I was with him a little bit up until the wellspring of misogyny part, which just made me want to puke.
I'm not on principle against overanalyzing the Depp versus Heard trial, and I did it myself. What it actually showed wasn't a wellspring of misogyny in our culture. I think it showed that Amber Heard and Johnny Depp became these proxies for this continuing battle of the sexes vibe that we're living in, where there's a lot of resentment against men from women. There's a lot of resentment against women from men for some justified and some non-justified reasons, but we can't have a mature conversation about it because celebrities dominate it or social media memes dominate it. And really at the end of the day, it's better to make fun of a situation than try to make sense of it.
It's not like this is anything new. 90% of the content, okay, not 90%, a lot of the content on TikTok and Instagram are memes that kind of play on the tropes of men versus women and, what do men have it better with? What do women have it better with?
I wonder how Amber Heard would do as a guest on Fresh and Fit.
That would be really interesting to just that.
I wonder what their take on this in this trial was also, at the time.
Unbridled misogyny.
I'm not a huge fan of Fresh and Fit. I don't keep up with their takes on things, but I'd like to know what they think.
She would call it unbridled misogyny, I have no doubt. That would be a culture shock for her, I think. Unless
people aren't kissing my ass, that's crazy.
So and then also I love that there's kind of a little bit of a lack of understanding from some of these people. So Gabrielle says, what struck me about the case as well was the number of women who were openly supporting Depp. Well, maybe that should tell you something.
Right.
I don't know. And taking every chance they could to criticize and humiliate Heard. Mm-hmm. See, that goes headlong with the narrative that women, all in the Hollywood narrative that they all get along and that they need to empower one another, which always comes across fake to me. Mm-hmm. Anytime I see a picture of those like we talked about Rings of Power when they posted the picture of like all the women in the photo shoot from the cover of Vogue or whatever it was. Like I'm looking at that picture and all I can think of is like I can just hear the fake compliments.
Yeah, like Hollywood represents the exact opposite of what could be genuinely described as girl power or women's solidarity. But as for the women who were supporting Johnny Depp, a lot of them seem to be supporting him because they like kind of have this weird parasocial like I wish that Johnny Depp would date me thing more than looking at the facts and thinking that he should be exonerated because that is what is just, you know? And then a lot of dudes I saw were like throwing support at Johnny Depp and then throwing shade at Amber Heard because, I don't know, they had an issue with like some past ex who lied about them. And that's not really talking about Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard and about defamation. That's talking about like your own baggage.
And then there's this one. It says, well, it's the whole myth of the perfect victim, right? If America's going to believe a woman saying a man abused her, she's got to be impossibly, unfairly impeccable. It's pretty clear from the testimony this was an unhealthy and dysfunctional relationship between two people who almost certainly shouldn't have been in each other's lives. You got me on the second part. You lost me on the first part. Look, she admitted to hitting him and making fun of him for not wanting to be hit. There is a long gap societally between perfect victim and making fun of someone because you don't want to they don't want to be abused by you.
Have you noticed that she's kind of dressed like Kim Jong-un in that picture?
I'm here for it.
I kind of love it.
There's a great
that was probably a personal choice by the attorney, like let's make you look like
I thought they were supposed to wear blue in court because blue inspires truthfulness or something like that.
I think she tried to look a little bit drab.
Yeah,
because if you're hot, then I'm sure the lawyers tell you to look
less
more
I think
ordinary.
It backfired because, like, to me, it just I think of her shitting on his bed.
Yeah,
dressed like that for some reason. It just makes her look more like she would do that.
I think it's even more psychotic that she would plant her own dog's poop in his bed.
Yeah,
like both
that
of them.
She would pick it up
and then
put it
the
in
dog.
the bed.
Was that was the argument she made?
Well, I think it was that like the dog ate weed edibles and then shit the bed. Okay. I don't know what the real story was. I think we'll never know, but
the point is
she denied it.
That there's a large gap here between the perfect victim, and I don't relish anyone kind of being dragged in public, but it's the type of thing where it wears your patience. You're like, how much leeway do you give a person? I thought we were pretty fair through most of it, is saying like, look, there's a lot of hyperbole on both sides.
No one's asking for a perfect victim, but they're looking for
one that doesn't
someone who genuinely is a victim.
Yes, exactly.
It seemed like she was, getting at him for not being toxically masculine when she's like, oh, you don't want to be hit? Thought that's what you were supposed to be doing.
Well, no, that and like she like wouldn't let him like remember the shoes, like taking off his shoes after work thing?
Right. She had this weird psychological ritual where when he would get back from work, like filming all day, she would have to be the one that takes off his shoes and gives him a glass of wine. And there was this one time he recalled that he took off his shoes before she did.
And she got very upset.
And then she came in the room and she was very upset and they got into a fight about it. Like,
I wish I could live a day in Johnny Depp's
that she wanted to like
shoes,
create this
literally.
Pavlovian ritual where he was dependent on her.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to get my shoes off to go to bed without Amber Heard?
Without Amber, yeah.
And my wine.
Do you think it's fair?
She was probably dosing his wine.
The funny thing is, I
Maybe.
think there is a discussion there, like a very reasonable discussion that could be had about a culture where you monetize people's misery. But the thing is, we talked about this a lot. They monetize their own misery. They were their own clown show through most of this. Like, if you put this into the public sphere, you can't be upset at the public for latching onto it, finding a certain level of fascination, and then monetizing it to their own extent. And that goes with all aspects of pop culture. 90% of like my feed on Instagram now is people like imitating the dance from Wednesday Addams. Everyone finds their own way of monetizing what's going on in culture right now. It's just that the one they were using just happens to be one that's awful and part of a society where we're still having this discussion about who's the bigger victim, men or women. What do women suffer from that men don't? What do men suffer from that women don't? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, especially if you're only telling the facts. Yes, you will have your spin and your bias, but that is on the viewers. And that's, we have to hold ourselves accountable that when you watch a channel, and you see them presenting one side of the argument, you can understand, like, look, you take this, it's like infotainment, right? Like, it's partially information, it's partially hyperbole because people play to an audience, and you have to figure out as a viewer where the truth is and where you're being entertained. And I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's a lot to ask of us as individuals to be able to watch things and not expect to be spoon-fed. Isn't that what we want? We don't want to be spoon-fed information like we're children. We want to be treated like adults. Like, it's our jobs as adults to be able to suss that out and figure out where truth ends and entertainment begins. I don't think that's an unfair discussion.
There were so many people who basically made their careers off of talking about this trial. And by the end of it, when we really talked about the verdict, the next day it was like, okay, that happened. It was always a situation that was inherently private, that was made public by force, and then all of the people who maybe felt strongly about Johnny Depp's vindication, they really felt strongly about the vindication of men in general who have been screwed over by Me Too, for instance, or like the reverberations from that movement. They didn't feel all that strongly, I think, about Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most of them, like, it seemed like the women cared about Johnny Depp, men cared about what it meant for men.
Like, it's all symbolic, really.
Yeah, like, the women were like, like their weird parasocial relationship where they think that he's going to choose them. To be fair,
because they kept giving him gifts outside of the courthouse.
It's like a Ted
and
Bundy scenario.
I mean, literally, yes.
Oh yeah, they bring that up in this round.
Hybristophilia, is that what it's called?
Hybristophilia, yeah. Like they talk about it in this where they mention, like, women are like held to there's like women are held to a different standard society, and then they reference true crime, because true crime seems to focus a lot these days on female killers, but that's because the rest of pop culture doesn't.
Right.
Like, it's filling a market value right now. Like, if you watch an episode of a TV show, very rarely do you see female killers because it is statistically rare. So there's automatically fascination.
Right. There's even
to cover
a show
something
that's called like Women Who Kill.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's
it's
not men who kill.
It's not because it's
just given.
Yeah, it's not misogynistic. It's filling a market.
Right.
It's fulfilling a need in the market that people have a fascination with that. Just like there's a market for Dahmer, and there's a market for all these other things. There's a market for Casey Anthony and creepy crap like that.
I think that there was definitely an aspect to the Depp trial, though, that was like, I would never treat you like Amber treated you, King.
I love the like that. Like,
I
right
just
now,
can't deal with the simping when it comes from the men or the women. Just stop. Have some dignity.
Right now, like, if you're about to get into a relationship and you're looking to get married, you have to say, like, high and low end. Will you treat me better or worse than Amber Heard treated Johnny Depp? I need it on a scale. And then she's like, on the scale of, like, treat me like a king to crap in my bed and punch me in the face and call me a whiner, what are you going to going to do?
Right.
On a scale of, like, poop in my bed to take off my boots and give me wine.
Yeah, I mean, there are good parts of the relationship too, I guess.
I'm sure the sex was fantastic. Like, you're not that nuts.
Well,
not.
Oh my gosh, don't be vulgar.
Maybe pre-shit. Because I couldn't get that.
I'm guessing it never.
Shit.
My hope would be that it never happened after that. That he's like, well, I'm officially done. I just have to find a way to make my exit now. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.